You are listening to Productivity Straight Talk with your host, Amber De La Garza. Amber is a sought-after productivity coach, trainer, speaker, and writer who gives entrepreneurs the straight talk on personal productivity. No BS, fluff, or overused jargon. Just actionable strategies to get results and succeed in business. And here is your host, Amber De La Garza, the Productivity Specialist.
Welcome, and thank you for listening to Productivity Straight Talk. Today is episode 134, Hardwired to Multitask. If you're a business owner or entrepreneur who wants actionable solutions to maximize profits, reduce stress, and make time for what matters most, then you're in the right place, and I'm so glad you've joined me. Today's goal is for you to find out how being hardwired to multitask is affecting your productivity in a big way, so that you can stop it in its tracks and execute the antidote to multitasking. This episode is being brought to you by my Time Management Made Simple program. If you're interested and want to get on the wait list for the next launch of my Time Management Made Simple program, you can head on over to learn more and sign up at theproductivityspecialist.com/time. And now, let's get to the straight talk. Okay, so let's talk about the sexy topic of multitasking. Said nobody. I bet you've heard it before. Multitasking is a myth, it's a lie. Well, I'm here to tell you that that is true. But knowing that is not enough, because my guess is you are still multitasking. You may have heard the stats and all the research that's out there. And if you haven't, go ahead and go Google it. I am not going to waste your time in this episode. Just trust me, there is so many stats and research that support that multitasking is not only a lie, but attempting to multitask is hugely affecting your ability to focus and be productive. In fact, us believing that we can and attempting to multitask is like fighting reality. You see, I read this little book that I became a little obsessed about, nerding out, and it's called The Myth of Multitasking by Dave Crenshaw. And I read this book a really long time ago, but essentially what he shared with us in this book, Multitasking is a Myth, is that what we're actually doing is switch tasking. So what is switch tasking? And I think this is a really helpful concept to understand, that we know what we're doing so that we can stop attempting to do it. Multitasking, and again, I'm paraphrasing in my own understanding, is when you try to multitask, you're calling it multitasking, but what you're really doing is switching from one task to another very quickly. And this could be in any duration of time. It could be 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 3 minutes, switching back and forth. It could literally be 10 seconds here, you switch your focus, and next 10 seconds, you're focusing on something else. The reality is that we don't have the ability to multitask in the way that we're attempting. Now, we can chew gum and walk. That's technically multitasking. We're doing two things at once. But if we're trying to attempt anything that takes our focus and attention, our thinking, and we can't do it on automatic on the back end, we are not actually multitasking, we are switch tasking, right? And so you can carry on a conversation with somebody and walk because you can walk automatically. You can walk and chew gum because you're not even thinking. It doesn't take thought to chew gum. It doesn't take conscious thought to breathe. And so those would be like the true definitions of multitasking, but you know we're not talking about that. Here's what I'm talking about. You sit down at your desk and you're like, let me jump in my email. And then you have all of these tabs open, and then you have sticky notes in front of you, and you have a to-do list, and you have a stack of papers, and you're literally without a plan switching from one to another to another. Or another example is you're typing away at an email that really takes a lot of thought and concentration, and your assistant walks in the door and asks you a question. If it's not your assistant, maybe it's your kid or your husband asking what's for dinner, but you are not going to be multitasking. You will stop what you're doing and you will focus on their question. You will put that little mini fire out by answering it as quickly as possible and then get back to the email. And when you do, you've lost your focus. And research tells us that there is a tremendous amount of errors that are created by doing this. And I get it. I have done the tests, I've seen the research, and I definitely know that there's errors. But what I want you to consider is how stressful are those situations. You sit down at your desk and you have 1 hour to get your most focused work done. And you sit down and you're so divided with what you should be focusing on, you try to do all the things. The hour comes and goes, you go into your meeting and you ask yourself, what did I actually get done? Right? This is literally what that looks like at your desk. Now, this would be multitasking in the sense of little tasks and things that are taking your attention. But multitasking can actually be a division of attention and energy on a bigger scale, such as projects. If you're trying to attempt multiple projects in your business where you are going to go after project A and you dabble in it a little bit, you get bored, and then you jump to project B and you make headway, but then you have this really good idea and that's project C. And if I were to ask you, all the projects are important, right? Well, now you've done a little bit in a lot of projects. And my guess is my example is being a lot nicer than what's reality in your business. My guess is you probably have 5, 10, 15 projects going at once or any given time, which means you've started them and have not completed them. This is also a form of multitasking. You're not being laser focused with your attention and energy of that of yours or your team's. I want you to think of the analogy of the sun. So when the sun is shining on the earth, you're warm, right? And it's fine, it's bright, it's light, it's cheerful. But what happens when you take a magnifying glass to that same sun and focus it on one area? Well, ask any young boy or any guy that's been a young boy. They have lit ants on fire with that focus of the magnifying glass and sun. And what I'm asking you to do is instead of scattering yourself and your finite resource of energy and time and attention amongst a lot of projects or a lot of tasks, is what would that look like for your business if you laser focused to take a project to completion? So here's what's happening. You are not finishing projects, but if we think of your time as money, right? And so we put 5 hours on project A, and we put 5 hours on project B, and we put 2 hours on project C. None of them are done, but we're out 12 hours. And projects in our business tend to be projects that we have identified strategically that if completed would have a return on the investment that it takes to complete the project, right? So maybe it's a new marketing, or you're entering into a new market, or you're updating your website, or you have a new social media strategy, right? And so you get all the way to a certain point and then you stop. And then you start on your website and then you stop. Well, what's happening is you've deposited 5 hours in project A, 5 hours in project B, 2 hours in project C, and you're out 12 hours with no return on investment. Now, if we run the same scenario and you put all your eggs into project A and it took 7 hours to get project A done, you could get 7 hours in project A and then invest 5 hours in project B. While you're working on project B, project A is giving you a return on the investment of time, right? And this may not just be time. Time is truly valuable, but you might be actually putting dollars after this, right? Like if you're paying your team to execute on a project and you start them and you stop them and you start them and you stop them, you now have payroll that's being paid out with no real result in your business. And so that's what multitasking looks like on a bigger scale. That's what multitasking looks like in your day-to-day, minute by minute, hour by hour. In any case, multitasking is not what you want to be doing, and yet it seems to be most of our defaults. Okay? Many of us, this is our default. And even if you go read the stats, and even if you know better, or you've listened to me talk about multitasking, or when I tell you it's a lie and it's no good and you have more errors, you'll shake your head yes, but does that change in the moment that you default to multitasking? And I believe it's because we're hardwired to want to do a little bit of everything because that makes us feel better. But us feeling better in the moment is not what our businesses need from us. And so the antidote for multitasking is to make a decision. You see, you are multitasking in the moment at your computer because you're not willing to make a decision on what the priority is to invest your time, energy, and attention. So instead of being a big girl or big boy and the business owner and the entrepreneur and the CEO that you are, you just default to doing a little bit of everything. Or maybe it's the things you want to do or the things you feel like doing or the things that catch your attention. And what you really, I would urge you and invite you to do is see it for what it is. It's a lack of decision making. And making a decision about what project is A over B seems so overwhelming, so we're just going to push all of it forward. And that's not what your small business needs. What your small business needs is focused attention to get A to completion or as far as it can get, hand it off, or it's at a holding spot, and then you're all in on project B, and then you get that as far as you can go, and then you're all in on project C. I can't stress this enough, is that multitasking is not only not good for your business because you're not completing projects or completing tasks with efficiency, but one of the ways that you know that you're multitasking is to check in with yourself. You see, I'm not immune to multitasking. I know all the stats. I teach this for a living, and yet I still find myself defaulting back to multitasking every once in a while. So I'm not here to say it's never going to happen because now you know better, so you're just not going to do it. I honestly think we're hardwired to do it in the most stressful situations. So when we are really crunched for time, or we're up against a deadline, or when the business actually needs all these projects done to hit the goal, but it's clear that you're only going to get 1 or 2 projects done, that's when we default to multitasking. And the way that you're going to know and that you can catch yourself multitasking is that it creates stress or uneasiness. The best way I can explain this is to check in with yourself. So for me, if I feel any type of anxiety, or I have a feeling of overwhelm, or even sweaty or kind of frantic, I know that if I pause and recognize that feeling, it's because it's coming from the thought of I'm overwhelmed. And because I'm overwhelmed, and I feel overwhelmed, I am not making the decision of what is actually a priority. So at any time when you are multitasking, big or small, this is a decision-making problem. That's it. What your business needs from you, what your day needs from you is to stop, take a breath, make a choice, make a decision. What is going to get your attention? Because we are always going to have more to do on our to-do list than we have time. We are always going to have more ideas for projects than we're going to have time for. And because we're ambitious and go-getters and we want to go after those goals like nothing else, they all seem important. But you need to decide based on your goals, based on the time that's available, the resources of your team and yourself, what gets your attention first, second, third, and fourth. I will tell you that the skill set and the ability to be decisive and make that decision and move into it quicker and quicker is a skill set that will serve you well as a business owner, not just for productivity, but truly because you will be more and more confident that what you're spending your time, energy, and attention on is the right thing, and that of your teams, big or small. So, to wrap this up, we know multitasking does not work. We know that it's a lie. And we know that when we switch task, which is alternating from task to task or project to project, that it's incredibly inefficient. There's way more errors and in fact creates more stress and anxiety in our days than we would like. So if we know what all those negatives are and we know what those signs are, what I don't think you've been told is that this is a decision-making problem. You are not willing to prioritize. One, because you don't have enough information to truly prioritize. Or two, you're not ready to push it all in on black, right? And so if you're gambling, you're like, oh, I'll just spread the chips over here and here and here and here. And what happens is because you've spread your chips, even if you win, you're not winning that big. And so if you are making a decision to invest in a project in your business, I want you to do so because you're confident that it will serve your business. And if it doesn't, you have the ability to move on quicker and faster with all your time, energy, and resources of that and your teams to project B that may serve you better. So the next time you find yourself multitasking, because you will, take a deep breath and ask yourself, what decision do I need to make? What do I need to spend my time, energy, and attention on? You answer it, you don't doubt yourself, and you move on. Because the quicker you move on, even if project A ends up being the wrong project, you will know that quicker and faster to be able to move on to project B than if you just spread yourself out over project A and B and C and D. And the other upside of this is that as a business owner, as the CEO of your business, you are becoming better and better at making decisions. And to make decisions, you need the right information. And so just by exercising this one little tweak of seeing this as a decision-making issue is that you will filter these projects through your goals, your vision of success, of your strategy, and really determine, is the amount of input worth the return? And only you can answer that. And sometimes you'll be wrong. Many times you'll be right. But at the end of the day, you'll have that answer much quicker and faster if you laser focus on the project and on the tasks. So next time you feel overwhelmed, ask yourself, is your default to hardwire to multitask? How's that make you feel? As soon as you determine you are multitasking, just stop and recommit to single tasking. There will be no guilt or shame or thinking, oh my gosh, I was working on 5 projects. I listened to that episode with Amber. She told me not to work on 5, 6, 7, 8 projects at once. And here I am. All you're going to do is realize you're working on 5, 6, 7, 8 projects. Take a breath and recommit to deciding what your first project is that you're going all in on. All right, guys, that's all I have for you today regarding multitasking and the ability to make a decision to get yourself out of the productivity suck of multitasking. You do not need to be hardwired to multitask. You could find yourself multitasking and make a different decision. I have loved having you listen to this episode of Productivity Straight Talk. And I sure hope it was valuable, but I need to be straight with you. No change, no change. Without taking action, nothing will change for you or your business. So take some action today. I would love to talk to you if you have been entertaining the idea of working with me one-on-one via my peak performance coaching. As of the publish of this episode and recording of this episode, I actually have 3 spots available to onboard 3 new coaching clients in December with a coaching start date in January. So if you think this is you, if you think that an added layer of customization and strategy and training and accountability would serve you well, to achieve your 2020 goals, I want to talk to you. And I just want to know, where are you at? What are your gaps? What can you be supported with? And if that's something that I can help you with, I'll tell you. If it's not, I'll tell you that too. But I would love the opportunity to chat with you about what your goals are and how I can support you and what that would look like moving into one-on-one coaching. If you're interested, you can go to theproductivityspecialist.com/call, schedule your discovery call, answer a few questions, get on my calendar, and then we will chat and hopefully be partnering in 2020 to slay your goals. So that's my straight talk for you today. And until next time, have a productive week.